Everyone at the reception remembers the music. The violinists weaving their way into the last notes of a song, the guests swaying with half-empty glasses in hand, the chandeliers trembling with the laughter of the night. But I don't remember the music. I only remember her words. It wasn't shouted, it wasn't even whispered conspiratorially. It was spoken with a casual shrug, a glass of champagne balanced between her painted nails, her lips curved in the same smile that had charmed every single person in the hall that night. He's not really my husband. The sentence cut through the air like glass against porcelain. I stood there frozen, the echo of her laughter still bouncing around my ribs. Just minutes earlier, she had been pulling me across the floor, her hand in mine, spinning, twirling, dancing as if we were the only two people who existed. Her eyes were alive, her cheeks flushed with the glow of someone celebrated. My bride. My wife. And yet, when it mattered, when the question came, she denied me in front of them all. It started with a joke. At least, that's what she wanted everyone to think. Someone, her college friend maybe, a woman who had flown in from another city, had asked, teasingly. So, what's it like being married now? Settled down already? And she laughed. God, she laughed. That full-bodied, dramatic laugh that always made people lean in, wanting to be closer to her orbit. Married? Oh, please. He's not really my husband. You know me better than that. They laughed with her. Some nodded knowingly, as if she had confirmed what they suspected all along. And I stood only a few steps away, close enough to hear, too close to pretend I hadn't. The worst part wasn't the words. It was how easily they came. As though they'd been waiting. As though somewhere inside her, she had been rehearsing that line, rolling it over her tongue until it was polished enough to draw laughter instead of outrage. My chest tightened, but I didn't confront her. Not then. Instead, I replayed the entire day in my mind with a new, sickening lens. Earlier that afternoon, when the photographer asked for the couple's kiss, she had tilted her head toward me, lips grazing mine, her eyes wide open and distant. When my mother handed her the family heirloom necklace, she had smiled politely, but her hand trembled ever so slightly before she fastened it. When my best man toasted to our future, she raised her glass, but her gaze slipped toward the crowd, scanning faces instead of locking onto mine. At the time, I told myself it was nerves. Weddings were overwhelming. Attention wasn't always easy. But now, standing there, her words replaying like a song I couldn't turn off, he's not really my husband, I realized it wasn't nerves. It was truth. Her truth. I tried to shake it off. People joke. People say things they don't mean. But the night began to unravel in small humiliations that only I seemed to notice. When her cousin asked us to pose for a picture, she stepped slightly aside, leaving an awkward gap between us. When my uncle made a toast about loyalty and lifelong partnership, she rolled her eyes, quick enough to think no one noticed, but I did. When the band played the slow song I had chosen specifically for her, she whispered, "Let's skip this one. Too cheesy." Instead, she spent that song spinning in circles with her friends, hair flying, arms lifted high, while I stood at the edge of the floor pretending to sip my drink. I thought maybe the sting would pass. That the night, once quiet, would settle into something softer, something we could laugh about later. But then came the final blow. We had just finished another round of dancing. My tie was loosened, her heels dangling from her fingers. We were both sweaty, breathless, grinning at nothing. And then one of her friends clinked a glass and teased, "You two look like newlyweds again." That was when she repeated it. Not once, but twice, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. Newlyweds. Please. He's not really my husband. This time she winked. This time people chuckled, half awkward, half conspiratorial. And God help me, I just stood there. The ride home was silent. The city lights strobed through the car windows, painting her face in flashes of gold and shadow. She hummed along with the radio, as if nothing had happened, as if she hadn't carved something irreversible into the night. I wanted to ask her why. I wanted to demand an explanation. But every time I opened my mouth, the words dissolved. My throat felt like it had swallowed cement. She looked out the window. I looked at her reflection in the glass. And for the first time, I wondered if I had ever truly known her. The next morning, she brewed coffee like always. She hummed the same tune she'd been humming in the car. She kissed me on the cheek as though nothing had changed. But everything had changed. I stared at her across the breakfast table, the steam from my mug curling into shapes I couldn't hold on to. I wanted to ask, do you mean it? Do you really not see me as your husband? But I didn't. Instead, I asked how she slept. She smiled and said, fine. That's when I realized the most dangerous betrayal isn't the one shouted in anger. It's the one whispered in laughter. The one dismissed as a joke. The one that everyone else moves past, but you carry alone. In the days that followed, I searched for signs. Maybe she would apologize. Maybe she would bring it up herself. She didn't. The closest she came was a passing comment one evening. You're being so quiet lately. Everything okay? I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her no, nothing was okay, nothing would ever be okay again because she had unmade me in front of everyone. But instead, I nodded. Just tired. And she accepted it. Just like that. It's strange, the things you remember when your world begins to tilt. The half-smile of the bartender as he poured another drink that night. The way the DJ's hand hovered over the next track. The smell of roses wilting on the centerpieces. The sound of her laughter echoing louder than the music. Every detail fused together into a picture I couldn't escape, me standing in a room full of people, and her, my wife, denying me with a smirk. Weeks passed, and the sentence followed me like a shadow. At work, while reviewing blueprints. At night, when I rolled toward her side of the bed and found nothing but cold sheets. Even in dreams, I heard her laugh replaying, her voice sharpened by the weight of denial. He's not really my husband. It was no longer just words. It was a fracture. A hairline crack that grew wider every day. People remembered too. My cousin mentioned it offhand at dinner. Hey, she's funny. Always joking about you too, huh? I forced a laugh, my fork trembling in my hand. He didn't mean harm, but the echo of that night had already spread beyond me. What she had dismissed so easily was now a seed planted in everyone's mind. Maybe she didn't mean it, maybe it was a joke, but to them, it was believable enough to repeat. I realized then that her denial had done more than wound me. It had rewritten me in the eyes of others. I tried to reclaim ground. Planned dinners. Brought flowers. Asked her about her day, her dreams, her plans. She answered politely, always politely, but never deeply. It was as if her words skimmed across the surface of the water, never breaking through. One night, as she scrolled on her phone, I finally asked. Why did you say that? She looked up, confused. Say what? At the wedding. That I wasn't really your husband. Her brow furrowed as if I had misremembered. She gave a little shrug. Oh, that? It was a joke. Don't be so sensitive. A joke. That was all it had ever been to her. But a joke requires shared laughter. And I wasn't laughing. I began to notice the distance in everything. The way she lingered longer at her friends' houses. The way she angled her phone screen away when I walked past. The way she began to introduce me not as my husband, but just by my name. Each omission was a knife. Each silence, a confirmation. Until one morning, I woke up and the bed was empty, not just of her, but of her presence. Her clothes were gone. Her shoes missing. On the dresser sat a folded piece of paper, scrawled with her handwriting. I unfolded it with shaking hands. "You're a good man. You deserve someone who loves you the way you want to be loved. I can't be that person. I don't know if I ever was." No signature. Just absence. And that was the moment it all became clear. Her words at the wedding weren't just a careless joke. They were the truth slipping out in its rawest form. She wasn't denying me for a laugh. She was confessing. She had never truly been mine. It's been months now. People still ask, still whisper. Some shake their heads with pity, others with curiosity. I've stopped trying to explain. Because how do you explain that the sharpest betrayals don't come with shouting matches or slammed doors? Sometimes they come disguised as laughter, disguised as charm, disguised as a single sentence tossed into the air at a wedding, while music plays and glasses clink. He's not really my husband. And the worst part isn't that she said it. The worst part is that, deep down, she meant it.